net went off because it's been sitting too long.
Is there sugar in those?
Not very much. You can't do sugar, right? Serena?
No.
Store chocolate, 4 pieces only equal 230 calories. Yeah, sugars are 15 grams.
Yeah.
Right. So a part of this mandala that we start is to request teachings. I'm not supposed to teach without being asked to teach. So this is part of when we say the prayer.
Please can you teach us?
Yes, but I'm trying to say that it's like included when
Okay.
you do the prayers.
So it's not your offering to us, it's us asking.
Asking for teachings, yeah, and I mean I didn't make up any of these teachings; they're not my words, right? So it's not really asking me, but I'm just delivering it for the moment. And so I'm asking Turjit to start. In the monastery, there's always one person who starts any kind of prayer, and that person is called the Unse. And I think it's like just one person for everything. That person will always start. So we don't do that here. But I'm asking Turnjit right now. So the way it works is that the Unse, the chant master, starts and then we all follow. So let her say the first word or two and then we jump in. That's how it's done.
Sashi
Uki Joshi to Tramri Radling Shi Yendegen Padi Geishu Mete Owa Gira Kunam Shingla Trupashu Idam Guru Ratnamanala Kandirtayan
Sange
Churan Soki Choknam La Jangchu Pardu Rakni Kapsuchi Naki Jin Nipe Sunam Ki Drola Finchir Sange Rupashu
Sange
Churan Soki Choknam La Jangchu Pardu Rakni Kapsuchi Naki Jin Nipe Sunam Ki Drola Finchir Sange Rupashu
Sange
Churan Soki Choknam La Jangchu Bardu Rakni Kapsuchi Naki Jinjun Gipe Sunam Ki Drola Pinchir Sange Druparshu. So just close your eyes if they're not already. Just take a few minutes to sit. Just watching your breath, starting to become present. Just watching your belly rise and fall. And then as you sit here, just listen to this little story that I just felt compelled to share. My grandpa, who lived to be 99 years old, almost 100, he had this cleaning lady. Her name is Stella. For I think 40 years. She helped when his wife was still alive, when the kids were at home and young, just my mother and her sisters. And they grew up with having Stella at their house once a week. And Stella vowed that she would stick with my grandfather until the end of his time. I don't know if she expected him to live that long, but she stayed. She stayed. So I knew her from visiting my grandfather, and I would see her, although she always was busy. And she wasn't one that socialized a whole lot. She's worked really hard. Just this sweet old Italian lady, as I remember her. Gray hair, she always wore the same clothes, and she had these very strong hands. So then when I was about 10 or so, my mom decided we needed a cleaning person to help us, and she asked Stella to come. So Stella would now come to my house every week. And she would come for, I don't know how many hours, a whole afternoon probably, or I don't know, I can't actually tell you. But she would just work really hard. She was a very simple woman, and nobody knew anything about her. Didn't know where she lived. I didn't know she had kids, but apparently she did. Grown kids at that time. Didn't know how old she was. We didn't know if she was married. Didn't know anything. She'd just come to work really hard. And then by the end of the afternoon, when it was time for my mom to pay her, she would give all or half of her money to me. And I thought that was very fun because I was a teenager, and I would gladly accept. But at some point I tried to tell her not to give it to me anymore. And then she would just continue to stuff it in my pocket or hide it in my room. So I was thinking about her this week. So I didn't think about her that much then because it just becomes normal when someone you see every week and for many years. But I started to think, like, who is this woman anyways? She's probably long past by now. But she would come to your house, work her butt off, and she wasn't there for the money because she'd just give it to me. So what was she doing? She didn't care for chit chat about nothing. You know, she was there to serve. And she seemed happy to me. She seemed content. She seemed highly special when I think back of her. And I'd like to be like her. Maybe sit here and try to imagine what it is to be Stella. Or someone you might know that is similar, that's very suspicious, that does things just a little bit different than your normal person. A normal person would work hard and then gladly take the money and go home. You know? Most people are motivated by being liked, getting something out of it, that kind of things. These were not things that were in Stella's mind, so it appeared. What would it be like if you would live a life where you are just there to serve? You are there with a feeling that you have everything. Everything you need, you have. You don't long for other things. You're content. And you give your time, you give your skills to people without wanting anything back. Imagine being like that, being like that. Who's not concerned about being liked, who's not concerned to try to tell the world their story. A being that you could easily miss if you weren't paying close attention. Being that doesn't want to stand out. It's kind of like undercover, serving the world. And you can slowly start to come back. All right. Thanks for coming. Course 2. Here we go. This course is it's gonna get a little bit tougher than the first one. First one's more of an overview, and this is a little bit more tricky, I think. We'll be discussing throughout this course on different topics like what is refuge. We'll be talking about bodhicitta, studying from a monastic textbook quite in detail about what bodhicitta is. We'll be talking about what nirvana is. We'll be talking about emptiness, proofs of emptiness. And we're talking about Maitreya. Who is Maitreya? So the subject of this second course is Prajna Paramita, which is perfection of wisdom. Prajna Paramita is Sanskrit. Prajna Paramita. Prajnya. Prajna. And then Paramita is Paramita. Perfection of wisdom. So this was originally taught by Lord Buddha in 500 BC in India. This is one of the group of sutras that he taught. And a sutra means any open teaching that he taught, spoken by Lord Buddha. That's what a sutra is. So all these courses that we're studying here, they're all sutras. And Buddha taught the Prajna Paramita for 51 years. And students would write that down, right, at that time. But we only have 3 of those main books left because the rest got all burned by the Muslims when they invaded India. So the 3 that we have left are the ones we're using for this course. Okay. And the books only remain in Tibetan because the Indian books were burned. The name of these 3 books in Tibetan say Gi Dring Du Sum. So Gi means long, Dring means middle, and then Du means short. Sum is 3. So the 3 books, long one, middle one, short one. And these 3 books together, they're called Yum, Y-U-M, meaning mother. Why do you think that these books would be called mother?
Life-affirming, life-giving.
Sorry?
Life-affirming, life-giving.
Life-giving, yeah. That's nice. The reason they're called Yum is because they're the mother. They birth Buddhas. Okay? They give birth. These texts can give birth to people reaching enlightenment. So that's why it's called the mother. It's nice. I think it's nice. Perfection of wisdom is what produces the Buddhas. So the long one has 100,000 verses. The middle one 20,000. And then the short one 8,000. 8,000. The middle one 20,000. Yeah. So these books are very difficult to understand. So we couldn't just study from them. We're gonna need commentaries on commentaries on commentaries. Okay, so I'll let you know what the commentaries are. And there'll be a question in your homework about that. If you are doing homework, you can write it down. Otherwise, I wouldn't worry about it too much to remember these names. But it's nice to know that, that's where it came from. So the commentary on the original sutras, the Yum of Lord Buddha, is by Maitreya. Maitreya taught this to Master Sangha. So in this course, we will learn more who Maitreya is, which is highly debated in the monasteries because some people claim that he is the next upcoming Buddha. And then other students would say he's already enlightened. So in any case, he spoke this to Master Sangha. And Master Sangha wrote it down. And it was called the Ornament of Realizations. And this Master Sangha is a very famous person in Buddhism. Him and his brother, Master Sangha, Master Vasubandhu. I think I've mentioned them in the first course already. They were the sons of a nun who had this vision that she should have children, and she did. And she had two, like, the main figures in Buddhism. So she was right about that. So this Ornament of Realization is 50 pages, and it's written in code. If you go to the monastery, you have to memorize these, all 50 pages. And you don't understand it, you'll need your teacher to unlock the code to help you understand. But it was intended for very high bodhisattvas, so for beings that are very close already to enlightenment, because it was very difficult, very difficult. So this was around 350 AD that Maitreya taught this Ornament of Realizations to a Sangha. So this is the commentary on the Yum text, okay? So then this commentary is too difficult for us to understand. So we need a commentary on that, which is called the Clarification. And this clarification was written by Haribhadra, meaning pure lion. This was written about 850 AD. Now this was also difficult for us to understand. So the text that we are using is another commentary by a Tibetan. His name was Kedrup Tempa Dargi. He lived from 1493 to 1568. And this text is called the Analysis of the Perfection of Wisdom. So he's commenting on the clarification by Haribhadra, okay? And also on a text from Jason Kappa, which was very hard to understand also. I don't have the name of that text. Okay, does that make sense? So what is the perfection of wisdom, or prajna paramita? What is the perfection of wisdom? Does anybody want to take a guess? Or maybe you know the perfection of wisdom. What would that be?
Study emptiness.
Mm-hmm. But it says the perfection of wisdom. So what is it that makes it perfect? Now you're close.
What?
She said enlightenment. I mean, you're both warm.
Along with bodhicitta.
There you go.
What did you say?
So
Bodhicitta.
bodhicitta, which, you know, if you're fully enlightened, you do have bodhicitta. So the definition of the perception of wisdom is seeing emptiness directly with bodhicitta in your heart. Meaning, you're having this deep experience, and at the same time, your mind is imbued with love for other people. Right? You're oozing with compassion. You want to help beings. So, you're seeing emptiness with love. So, when you see emptiness directly, without having that love, it's not perfected. Okay? It's very possible to have that experience without bodhicitta, and it's still, you know, way up there. It's amazing. But it's not perfected until you have that love. Emptiness is a very difficult topic. Lord Buddha didn't teach it in the first round of his teachings because people didn't understand it. They weren't ready for it. It takes time, it takes training, it takes lots of learning and thinking and meditation to try to understand it. But why? Why would we want to have this experience? Why are we talking about this? Why is this like the main focus, the thing we want to reach? Why come here and learn about it?
So you can end the cycle of suffering.
Yeah. How? How can you end the cycle of suffering by having this experience?
Because you can see clearly.
You can see clearly.
Your karma connected.
Yeah, it's true. So you have this. When you have the experience, it's like water being poured in water. You don't have a conscious thought of, "Yay, I'm having the experience." You don't. But when you come back, this is when you can see clearly for the first time. You finally understand that every thought you had was mistaken. Up until that point, you've never had a correct thought, ever. It's always been steeped in ignorance. And when I say ignorance, what do I mean?
Projections.
Thinking that the projections are separate from me, right? I think so. Yeah, yeah. It's definitely used in the scriptures. So therefore, it must be spoken by Lord Buddha. Yeah. So when you have the experience, when you come back, now you're on your way out for real. Because you don't buy into anything anymore. You don't buy into anything that pulled you before,
And what do you mean by you're on your way out for real?
You are on your way out of suffering. You are on your way out of the cyclic suffering, the cycle of being reborn again, of getting sick, all dying, of having pain, of not being happy. So you are going out of that into, you're turning into a different being after you see emptiness directly. You're no longer the same. Because everything you did before was all motivated by ignorance. So now you don't have that ignorance anymore, so everything will change. When your whole mind is now no longer steeped in that, things will change very quickly.
If you're motivated now into being of service,
Yeah.
then why would you want to cycle away and not be present to be in service?
Can you?
So what I do from a place of wisdom, when I help people, I really help them be omnipotent of the Buddha rather than still be stuck in the suffering.
No, I get that, but then you're not on your way out. You're out of the suffering. You're
Yeah.
still here.
You are still here until your body goes. Because this body has started, so it must end. Once your body has ended, you can choose. You can choose
That makes more sense.
how you want to come back. If you want to be, like Dalai Lama. He has chosen to be here, right? It's a choice. You didn't have to. So you can kind of do whatever. Once you're out, you can make that decision, and you can emanate in, any kind of form you want to help beings. You can even emanate in objects like rocks or something. You can do that too, or a tree if that's helping somebody in that moment. So you're a different being. You're in paradise. You have paradise body, and you can help people in however way. There's thousands of Buddhas. They have all their own specialty. Some of them can appear very wrathful. Other ones, like Dalai Lama, are like compassion itself. So you'll have your own specialty when you are enlightened.
So my tree that talks to me could be a being that chose to be a tree.
Could very well be. Yeah. So We need to contemplate emptiness intellectually until we can, see it directly. Like I said, it just takes a lot of training, a lot of thinking, a lot of questioning. It can get very uncomfortable, and that's good. If it's comfortable, we might not be working hard enough, If it's uncomfortable, it's good. It's good. It should shake you. It should make you go, what? Because it's opposite. It's opposite of what we've been taught, how we think, right? It's very radical. So the main thing is you will stop your suffering permanently. And it'll be very difficult. Can
I ask a question?
Yeah.
How young would they teach children about the concept of emptiness?
It really depends, It really depends. There's many schools of Buddhism that even they don't teach about emptiness at all to anybody. So not to children either. So there's not a whole lot of, I don't know. Even the children that go to the monasteries in India, I don't know when they start. I mean, I know they start early with debating and learning to read and write and all of that, but I don't know when they learn about emptiness. I think it will kind of depends on their seeds, their karma, what kind of teacher they have in their life, right? And then maybe it is being taught, maybe some of them don't hear it and others do, So I don't know. So the definition of perfection of wisdom is seeing emptiness directly with the desire to help all living beings. Perceiving emptiness under the influence of love.
Could you say that again, please? Seeing emptiness.
Under the influence of love. So when you see emptiness, you won't be able to explain it to other people. Yeah. How can you put something like that in words? I don't know. We're trying to do that here, but as you might notice, it's all a little bit vague. You have to have that experience yourself, and then you're not crazy, You know what you saw, and there's this permanent cessation that has happened of no longer believing that things are separate from yourself. And you will also have experiences like right after when you come back, you know how many lives you have left. You lose all doubt completely in this path. You see the 4 Arya truths directly.
See the
4 Arya truths, the 4 noble truths directly. Yeah, let's talk about what is an Arya, what's an Arhat, and what's a Bodhisattva, just to have that clear, because these names come up a lot, right? So who can tell me what is an Arya? Who is an Arya?
Someone who's seen emptiness directly.
Mm-hmm. Somebody who has had this experience, somebody who has seen emptiness directly in deep meditation. And I've said it before, you have to be in deep, deep meditation to have this experience. Because it's a death. You cannot just walk around doing your dishes and having, cannot.
You said because it's a death.
Death. And you're so gone that if somebody would walk in your room, maybe holding something that has a strong smell, you wouldn't even know people were there. You wouldn't smell it. Okay, that's how deep, 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 deep you are. So this is an Arya, somebody who has seen this directly. So if you are a being that has seen this directly, you are you're worthy to, you know, yeah, you've worked really hard to get there. It was a tough, tough journey. And if you make it all the way there, we should bow down to those beings.
So you're not talking about people who are almost are gonna die and then come out.
No, I'm not talking about that.
Do those situations don't people see emptiness directly?
I think it can be like that. But if you don't have the knowledge, like if you don't have any understanding what we're trying to explain here, and you have an experience like that, it'll be very different than when you do have the knowledge and then have something like that happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I do think it's possible, but not sure. Yeah, I wouldn't say that it's a no. It definitely could be like that. Okay, and we don't know who these beings are, right? That's another thing. You don't know who's an Arya or not. And when you do something for an Arya, you get major karma points because of where they've been, where their mind is at, you know? So when you give an offering to a being like that, like, wow. And since we don't know who is one, because they usually do not advertise this, it's something you keep very close to your heart. Why not treat everybody like they might be one, right? Because you don't know. You don't know. Yeah. And it's a beautiful way to live anyways, right? To try to see people in a highlight, even those ones that might appear a little nasty to you. Maybe they're just putting on a show because they know you need it. It's tough. It's tough. It's very tough. Very tough, but it's a nice way to live. Okay, so that's an Arya, someone who has had this experience. Then what is an Arhat?
Someone who has reached nirvana and has no mental affliction.
Someone who has reached nirvana. So you first become an Arya, okay? Then you're going to go on your journey to become an Arhat. So when you are an Arya, you will still have mental afflictions. You will still have feelings of anger or jealousy or pride or whatever come up, okay? The difference is you no longer buy into it. So you are not perpetuating all those habits anymore because of where your mind has been. When an angry boss yells at you, you know where it came from and you wouldn't even think about yelling back. okay? Because your mind, you understand why this is happening. So, because of this deep wisdom that you have as an Arya, you can eliminate all your mental afflictions very quickly. It'll be up to you. I've said that before too, how quickly you want it to be. Yeah, if you work really hard at it, it can be within one lifetime for sure. If you're a little bit lazy, it can take a few lifetimes, you know? If you're just not really, just want to relax for a second. Because you have worked so hard to get there, maybe you're just like, okay, I just don't really, you know, I just need a little break. And I said that, right? Watch Netflix a lot and not work too much to get rid of those mental afflictions. And then when the time comes, you'll put in the work. And then you become this. So it's really up to you. How hard do you want to work? How quickly do you want to get out of suffering, you know?
So what is the formula to eliminate? So
Sorry?
What is the formula? You're saying that we have a choice now to eliminate mental afflictions.
Well,
What is that?
I'm just saying you can work as hard as you want.
So tell me what the work is.
It's just automatically you are applying wisdom because you have this wisdom now deeply ingrained because of what you had experienced. But the more you go out in the world, the more people will come and trigger you, all your yucky stuff, right? So then you don't even have to think about it. You're just in the world. You have this deep-rooted wisdom, and you just let it all come and ripen, and you don't perpetuate it anymore. But if you don't go in the world much, maybe it'll go slower. Not necessarily. You can go into, in a retreat for a few years, like many people do, and there's nobody there to trigger you. But yeah, for those of us who've done some retreat, it can get very ugly, just with your own mind. Very ugly. So I'm saying not necessarily if you don't go out in the world.
I think sometimes it's harder to be on your own than it is with other people triggering you.
Yeah.
It's harder when you trigger yourself.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah. For some people, it's harder to be with other people. For some people, it's harder to be on their own.
Yeah.
But, whatever has to come will come. And you have to just work through it. And it's tough. In any case, it's not easy. But it will get easier. The more wisdom you have, people can do what they want, but it just doesn't affect you the same way anymore. It just, you feel compassion for the other person, but you don't feel hurt, this ego, this me. You don't feel like you have to protect it so much anymore, When you become like Stella, right? She didn't care what anybody, you could say anything to her. The ugliest thing, it wouldn't faze her at all, It would just slide right off. And she's just the same old content person. So yeah, so you're Arya, you work your way up to becoming an Arhat, which now when you're an Arhat, like Serena said, you have no more mental afflictions. And, imagine what that must be like.
Weird.
Yeah, it would be very weird. And it would feel like you're missing something, because all this stuff occupies your mind, influences your whole day, and when that's no longer there, what do? It's very different, right? Try to imagine what that would be like. Very different. So now all of a sudden you have this free openness because you're no longer occupied with protecting this me and everything that,
Do you find is like when people reach all these different goals.
Yeah.
Or, attainments. Is there a fight against it? Like in like what we were just talking about, do some people actually have that fight with themselves? Like, if I let go of this, then what?
Oh yeah. It's one big battlefield.
That's what I thought.
Because we kind of want to hold on to it. It's very weird. We're very weird.
Well, it's the devil you know instead of the angel
Right.
you don't know.
Right. You don't know, and it feels very weird. Yeah.
And there's some afflictions that you're almost comfortable with, that it's part of your identity.
Yeah, you think
There's
that's
that
me,
dance.
right? And all of a sudden, we're no longer going for that. We're trying to get rid of this me. Well, this me is saying, I don't want to go. I want to stay. I'm going to hang on for dear life. I'm going to do anything you can, you know.
I heard a great analogy for that, and it's uncomfortable wellness. The more uncomfortable you are in getting well, the better you're getting.
Yeah.
Because I know sometimes you outgrow things and it doesn't feel right. That's it.
Yeah. But it's not easy, right? It's not easy. It's very careful. Yeah. Because it's uncomfortable and because our ego does not want to go. Ego loves to rule the roost, you know?
What exactly is the ego?
You tell me.
Yeah.
I think we need to do 10 sessions on that.
Well, does anybody have a description or can help me with that? I don't get it. I don't get the ego. Because there's self-esteem, there's just so many different variations of what an ego is.
Yeah, and I think it would depend on who you ask.
That's
and
right.
people can give
That's why you
it
have
lots
10
of
sessions.
different,
And then you go crazy.
lots of difference. But I like to think of ego as this me, you know, that. So say. I have my wallet laying here, and someone comes in and grabs my wallet. That feeling of that's mine. That's me. You know, this thing. I don't know. To me, that is ego. That is that me that wants to protect me, and does anything, and will even hurt people, in order to get what it wants.
So me at all costs.
Self-cherishing.
Yeah,
Yes.
self-cherishing. Yeah. But that's I don't know. That's not written in the scripture.
Self-cherishing is what the Dalai Lama.
Thank you. That's right. That's perfect.
And I think if you ask someone else, they will say something different. So don't. Maybe it's a good thing to meditate on. You know, what is your ego? What is that for you? It's a good question.
Well, ego can work both ways, right? Like you can be in a Meyer-ish sort of thing. Oh, I'm not worth it. That's ego too.
Yeah.
Correct?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's not self-cherishing. That's
It is actually.
It's a form of
very
self-cherishing.
self-cherishing.
how.
Yeah.
How so?
Because it's totally self-involved and absorbed.
Yeah, for me, he's still cherishing.
It's,
You're just cherishing your poor self.
Yeah.
That's the crowd.
Yeah, and actually, it's a result of pride. You know, a karmic result of pride will turn into low self-esteem. So there's definitely, I've had low self-esteem is one of my biggest things I had to work through. I've been very shy for, my childhood into my teenagers, and this is my big battle. And it was tough for me to face that this came from pride. because I was just like this poor me, and I'm so this and
There's
oh
no
god,
for
all
me
the
if you're
stories.
shy. It's complete self-absorption.
Yeah.
Because what you're thinking about is what's everybody saying about me, not what can I do for them.
Yeah, yeah,
How can I be of service to them? So when you walk into a room, you're worried about yourself, not all those people who are there who you give something to, share something, be present.
Can't you just say that ego is everything other than love? Like fear is ego. Everything that isn't love is ego.
Yeah, I think that's pretty correct. Because anything that's not love is, well, not anything, but
No, I mean, I don't know how you can say that because joy is not ego.
yeah.
Joy is a
But
state of
joy
being.
is
Peace
love.
is not ego.
Yeah, but joy and peace are part of love. Like love in the bigger sense of acceptance and being essence. I mean, it's kind of esoteric to talk about it.
Yeah,
Yes,
I mean, I
I-
get what you say, and I think that's it's
Right?
They debate. We sit
Yeah.
there and they debate.
What's that?
yeah, it's not an airtight proof, but it's
Yeah.
it's good. It's that's fine. Okay, let's
So self-loathing is ego. Self-loathing is ego.
Oh, big time.
so yeah, that me has to go. You cannot ever be happy if that ego is still there. There's no room for your enlightened self and this me. So that one has to go, and that one will kick and scream until all the way. And that's where the big battles are. Yeah. I've had like this vision where this is a few years ago, but I would do my shopping for my family, and I literally would feel like I had this sword in my hands. Every time this nasty thought would come up, I would just like slay. And I'm just shopping mom with my cart in the superstore, but that's what I'm doing in my mind. And I thought if anybody could see what I'm doing here, this is crazy. But you gotta
Still do it.
slay all the demons.
Those thoughts come up so fast.
Yeah.
Without, right?
Yeah, you got to deal with them, if you want to be free of them. So we have 3 different kinds of prajna paramita, which is the perfection of wisdom. Okay. The first one, perfection of wisdom of the path.
Sorry.
Perfection of wisdom of the path.
Talk about we didn't finish with Bodhisattva.
Oh, we didn't do the Bodhisattva, sorry. So, okay, let's do that first. A Bodhisattva is easier to reach than becoming an Arya. And you can become a Bodhisattva before you are an Arya. You can also become a Bodhisattva after. Okay? And a Bodhisattva is what?
Someone who puts themselves in everyone else's place to serve, to remove their suffering and
Yeah.
to help.
Yeah. They have the genuine wish to help people, right? They have the general desire to become a Buddha so they can help other beings. So they're a being of love.
But it's not help in the conventional sense, is it? It's more help them to get out of suffering, right? So your
Yeah.
help might be, like you're saying earlier, wrathful rather than
It can be.
giving
It can
a
be.
pint of milk to
It
someone.
can be both. Yeah. So it doesn't have to look a certain way, right? I can be a very wrathful mother, but I love my children a lot, right? Yeah. Okay, back to the Prajna-paramita. 3 kinds of perfection of wisdom. The first one is the perfection of wisdom of the path. Meaning this is a being who's an Arya and has love. So having seen the direct perception of emptiness imbued with love, but they're not a Buddha yet, okay?
So they're an Arya and a Bodhisattva, but
Mhm.
not a Buddha.
So then the second one is the mind of a Buddha, where you can see, they call this the perfection of wisdom of the result. Okay, so you're the result now. You're the mind of a Buddha, you're omniscience. You can see emptiness and a deceptive reality at the same time.
Perfection of wisdom of what?
Of the result. Okay, so the first one is you're an Arya Bodhisattva. Second one is you're a Buddha. And then the third one, they call it the books on the perfection of wisdom. So this one doesn't really fit with these 3, but it's there, so it must be there for a reason. The books on the perfection of wisdom is a perfection of wisdom. Okay. The sutras, these texts that we're studying. So it's not really the perfection of wisdom, but they're the sounds that people hear that can help them become, an Arya or Buddha. And I guess another way of looking at it, why they might be in this, is because they were spoken by someone who is the perfection of wisdom, right?
So is it the understanding of these sutras?
It doesn't say that, but yeah, understanding them will lead you to become number 1 and number 2 of this list, right? So
These are 3 types of perfection of wisdom?
yeah,
And the third one was
the books,
the books.
the teachings.
Okay.
The overview. Perfection of wisdom.
Okay, so then I think this book is called, Buddha's Refuge. So what is refuge? We're going to talk about that next week too, but what is refuge?
Safe place.
Yeah. You are looking for something outside of yourself to help you, right? If I'm sick, I go to the doctor. I take refuge in the doctor. Okay. Or if I'm scared, I run to my mommy. I take refuge in my mommy. We take refuge all the time. I take refuge in a cup of tea when I'm cold or sad. Yeah? In our opening prayers, we say we take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. What does that mean? First of all, what are the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha? That would be a good place to start. Okay, the Buddha, we know. Buddha is an enlightened being. And here in these teachings, we don't say there's just one. We say there's thousands. Okay? That's a Buddha. What's the Dharma? Teachings. Yeah. Any teachings spoken by Lord Buddha?
But the commentaries, are they Dharma as well?
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
So they weren't spoken,
No.
but their interpretations.
And what's the Sangha?
there's an elevated sense of the Sangha of enlightened beings.
Yeah. So we say this is a Sangha. This is a group of like-minded beings that comes together to learn and grow. Officially, it's supposed to be a group of monks. Okay, minimum of 5. Then it's a Sangha. But yeah, what Tanjit says, any being who has seen emptiness, any group of beings that have seen emptiness would be a Sangha. So we call these the 3 jewels, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. So the idea is that if we go to refuge to these 3 things, we will get real help. Anything else will fail. Yeah, I can go to the doctor for my ailment. Might help, might not. In the end, it's not going to help me because I'm going to get sick, I'm going to get old and die at some point, right? The idea is that everything will fail. You want a nice partner, you can't find a nice partner, or maybe you can find a nice partner and the nice partner isn't so nice after all. Or maybe they are nice and then you or your partner will die, There's just no happy ending anywhere. Friendships fall apart, money, whatever, you can have lots of it, but you'll die, so what's it gonna do, Like, you want this job, you finally get it, or you can't get it, but if you do get it, after a few weeks you don't like it anymore, or you wish you hadn't gotten it, or maybe it is nice, but then it goes under, and you get fired, or laid off. It's just, this is what it is. This is samsara. Something feels nice for a second, but it's not gonna last. The next disaster is just around the corner, You don't know when, but it'll come, that. And even if everything goes smooth, you'll just die at some point, which we don't know when either. Okay, so it's a shit show. This doesn't work. But we try to make it work, so we take refuge all the time in things that make us feel comfortable for a second. But they can't really help us. They can help us for a second, sure. But if something helps you just for a moment, then it's not really helping you because it doesn't last. Okay? So taking refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha is different according to these teachings. Okay. How? Why is this an ultimate place of refuge? The Buddha jewel. So I'll tell you this. So going for refuge in the 3 jewels. So first of all, going for refuge in the Buddha jewel, which is the ultimate place of refuge, because this being has accomplished all the goals. Okay? That's why they're the ultimate place of refuge. They say that a Buddha has satisfied both needs. The needs for themselves and the needs for everybody else. Now it makes sense to say, okay, yeah, he satisfied his own needs. Sure, they're in paradise. They're happy. But how is it that he satisfied our needs? Because we're still here suffering, right? Why do you think that this is what they're saying? A Buddha has satisfied both their own and our needs. This is a big debate in the monastery, actually. Why do you think a Buddha has satisfied our needs, and why should we take refuge in a Buddha?
Something to attain.
Yeah.
I guess that's ego again.
No, I think she was asking why the Buddhists feel that they have helped all of us already.
Yeah.
Because maybe the teachings are there already. The instructions are there on how to follow them.
That's
It's
nice.
just not.
They're living instructions.
Yeah, it is. It is. That is what I was looking for. A Buddha cannot do it for us, or they would have done it already, because they cannot stand suffering. They want to help so badly. They're bodhisattvas, right? Bodhisattvas plus, because they're enlightened. And, if they could take away your pain, they would instantly. But they cannot. Okay? What they can do, like Hogan says, they can teach. They can give you the whole manual on how to do it. And then, you need to do it. And so the idea is they have satisfied all our needs the day that we become enlightened. And they will do anything they can to help us, to teach us. He helps us by trying to get us there. So that is the Buddha jewel. Then there's the Dharma jewel. So we take refuge in the Dharma jewel. What is the Dharma jewel? Turnjit said teachings, right? And you can divide those teachings into two ways, the books and the words of enlightened being. And then the second way is what is in people's hearts and minds. The realizations. And the jewel, the Dharma jewel itself, has two parts. The path, which is the idea that will lead you out of suffering. And the second part of the Dharma jewel is the cessation, which stops the bad qualities in you. And cessation was a little bit of a tricky word for me when I first heard it. I had no idea what it meant. I couldn't even pronounce it.
How do you spell it?
Cessation. The ending of bad qualities in this case. A cessation, what helped me understand the word cessation is the Santa Claus example. The moment that you hear that Santa Claus doesn't exist, you've had a cessation of the belief that Santa Claus is real. Once you know, it's done.
Go back.
You can't go back, right?
It's not real.
You can't go back. So you've had a cessation. So once you start to have cessations of anger, of pride, you can't have them back. Okay? So it's a very nice word. Actually.
What was the first one?
A path which
Path is the idea of.
which leads you out of suffering.
The path includes morality too.
Yeah, definitely. So then the Sangha, going for refuge in the Sangha would be, going for refuge into any person that has perceived emptiness directly. That's one that can help you, right?
Going back to Dharma, can you put that all in together and say that's wisdom. If you keep going back to, you've got to go to the doctor because you've got something wrong, but then you look at the wisdom of that.
So when you see emptiness directly, how many jewels do you become? Out of these three jewels, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, how many jewels do you become the moment you see emptiness directly?
Dharma and Sangha.
Yeah, 2 out of 3. That ain't bad. And then you're on your way to become the third, right? So now you are a Dharma jewel and you are a Sangha jewel the moment you see emptiness directly.
So when you go for refuge to the Sangha, it doesn't necessarily mean I've got a problem, I phone up Alana and say, hey, I've got a problem. It's more like trying to connect to Maitreya, maybe. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, or in a being that you think is an Arya. Over the years, I've called my Lama like 3 million times, with all my questions and things. So I'm taking refuge in someone that I perceive as holy, high, and this is where I take my refuge, right? But it doesn't have to look like that. You can sit down in meditation and go, try to connect with a holy being. Like you were saying, it can look different. It doesn't have to look a certain way. I think it'll be kind of personal for everyone, right? But the idea is that when we take refuge in worldly things, that we know that there's not going to be.
So when you do take refuge, so you go downstairs and you have a cup of tea at Starbucks,
Yeah.
what can you be saying to yourself so that you bring this with you?
Okay.
Would you do like the dedication?
You can totally do any of that, but just to bring wisdom to your situation is taking refuge, right? So the fact that you can enjoy a nice cup of tea is only because you have the karma in place. So this is taking refuge. This means you are not thinking, I can get a cup of tea because I got my money out of the bank, I got it out of my pocket, and I'm giving it to the barista, and she's giving me a cup of tea because of that cause and effect. That would be a worldly way of thinking, right? So to apply these ideas, you would apply wisdom by knowing that, the fact that you can get a cup of tea in the first place takes a certain amount of virtue. And then to get the cup and to actually enjoy it is another virtue. I've had cups where it didn't taste good at all, or sometimes I've gone into a coffee shop before and they run out of what I wanted, So it's not the money that's going to provide that tea that I'm craving. It's not. It's my karma, So it's my karma to be able to get it, and it's my karma to be able to enjoy it. All of it. So that is taking refuge. That's taking refuge. Definitely in the Dharma jewel at that point, right? Does that help? Yeah. So that takes some training. It takes some practicing, and then at some point it just becomes automatic. You don't have to think about it anymore because you've done it 1,000 times, and then at some point you don't have to, right now I'm not calling the Lama anymore about every stupid little thing now, because I've done that so many times. It's now ingrained. I already know what he would say, and I don't even
Karmic neuroplasticity.
I don't even have to ask anymore because I know the answers now, right? Because I put so much time in to try to understand all this stuff. So then it shifts a little bit in how you take refuge, but yeah. So this course, I said this already, but it's good to be a little bit uncomfortable with the information, and the reading is quite hard too. So just do your best and stick with it, you know, if you can. It'll help you. That's class.
How many classes are?
There's 10. Yeah. So we'll have a class next week. I know you won't be here. And then we take a break and we come back after I return from retreat. So it'll be 27th of January. And then we do 8 weeks in a row and finish it up.
27th of January.
Yeah. I'll just make sure I answered all the homework questions.
December 9th and then January 27th.
Yeah.
2/17.
So we are already 10 minutes over time. So let's do the prayer, and then if you have any questions, you can come see me. You can always email me too, any point. I should get your email, Elena, because I send out a reminder that it's happening today, and I'm like, oh, I don't have yours. I figured Turnjeet was in contact.
She's taking care of me.
Yeah, that's very nice.
Sashi
Puki Joshin Meito Trang Riravishi Yende Gempadi Sange Shindu Mete Uma Gira Kunam Shingla Chumasho Hidam Guru Suna Yeshe So Suna Yeshe Lejon Dampa Kuni Tobarsho.
She's a pothead.
She's a pothead.